Well, good evening, everybody.
Howdy, howdy.
Hey now.
Good evening, Al.
Really? Is that excitement, John?
Yeah.
That was excitement. That's it.
That was
That's
it.
as much as I get.
That was it.
That's
It's
it.
Tuesday.
It's gonna be a great, energetic show.
That's exactly right. And Patricia is here, the better half of that infamous lesbian law firm down in Dade County. You tell her I said the better half is here tonight.
Oh, she'll hear it.
And Natalie Russo, first time ever with us at Queer News Tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We love our trans reporters, so welcome here. And what's your name?
David Hopkins.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
out of production and into the hot spotlight.
That's right. You're covering for us tonight. Thank you very much for doing that. All right, well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m. Tuesday, August 24, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the Happening Out television network, Hotspots magazine, and WMEG events. Hotspots is celebrating 35 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, Merged. We bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our LGBTQ plus community.
We're excited because this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet. I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's first welcome anchor John Buckley, a client advisor at Ramoa. He is vice president and program director of the nonprofit organization Unity Coalition, as well as the creator of the initiative Kyoba, a free traveling social event that features inspiring speakers, topics, and a safe space for all same gender-loving men of color. Plus, he's known as Buck Lords from the famous House of Lords. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Al. Pleasure to be here. Don't forget to follow Unity Coalition because we have Celebrate Orgullo coming up October 1st to the 15th.
I'm so glad you said that name, not me, because I can't.
Let's welcome Patricia Hernandez from Rotella and Hernandez Immigration and Family Law. Throughout her career, she has represented individuals nationwide in their immigration matters, including same-sex couples, immigrants with criminal histories, and business immigrations clients. She is the recipient of the Miami-Dade County Bar Association Visionary Award, the Miami-Dade County Hispanic Affairs Advisory Board's Committee Champion Award, and Saves People's Luminary Award. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. Let's welcome anchor David Hopkins. He is well known here in LGBTQ South Florida as an officer for Lambda Men's Brotherhood, a nonprofit organization focused on building a legacy of gay philanthropy with the mission to identify and help fund critical needs in our community. Through social and fundraising events since 2005, they have raised and donated over $200,000 in grants to local and national nonprofit organizations that serve vital needs in our community. Welcome, David.
Thank you, everybody. And the past year and a half have been rough for all charity organizations, so donate. Even if there's no events going on, go to their websites, find out how to donate. Well, in honor of our next anchor, I'm wearing my Trans Pride shirt tonight. So let's welcome Natalie Russo. Natalie is a multiracial trans woman. She majored in media production at Worcester State College in Massachusetts. Besides being an animal lover, she's opened her home to the transsexual community and strives to make positive impact to change lives with hope and confidence, giving those in need guidance. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. We are reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. the LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America and diverse our community. Across the world is a vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, August 24th.
I can hear your New England accent now, by the way. Well, let's begin by queering up entertainment. RuPaul's Drag Race just got renewed for even more seasons. The RuPaul's Drag Race Cinematic Multiverse, is that what we're calling it now? Of wigs and wonders, just keeps getting bigger and more powerful, and we love to see it. On Monday, VH1 announced that they have decided a bunch of our favorite Drag Race titles have been greenlit for new seasons. So between these and all of the show's many international versions, there's literally so much Drag Race related content out there to keep us gagging to our heart's content. Soon we'll be seeing RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14, a new season of Untucked, and a secret celebrity Drag Race Season 2.
You know, they really need to bring back RuPaul's Drag You, which was kind of brought back with We're Here on HBO Plus, but I loved that show.
Really?
Yes,
My least favorite
was.
of everything that they've ever done.
Oh, it's because you're snooty and old and needed one of those makeovers.
I
It's a
think
drag
I'm,
race domination for sure. They're taking over the planet.
They are taking over the
I
planet.
think I'm the only gay who doesn't watch RuPaul's Drag
Yeah.
Race.
No, you're in
There's a
good
few of
company. I don't watch it either.
We're
Very
shaming you for it.
I
It's
know,
the
you might pull my
I was
card, I
gonna
don't
say,
care.
Your card's getting ready to be
It's all right.
pulled.
Until Buck Lord shows up as part of the pit crew, and then everybody will be watching.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I might do that.
yeah. Oh, then you sell out. Got it. I got it, John. I got it.
Hey, put me on the screen. Okay.
Yeah, right. If it's all about you, then you're in. Got it.
Well, you know.
All right. Wait, have you already done RuPaul? 'Cause
No.
it's the same for all of them, too.
You mean RuPaul or
Next,
the show?
let's queer up the USA. Anti-LGBTQ radio host dies of COVID after spending months mocking vaccine on air. An anti-LGBTQ radio host who refused to get vaccinated against COVID-19 has passed away due to complications from the virus. Last month, Phil Valentine's family announced that he had been hospitalized with COVID-19 after he had spent months on the radio telling his listeners that he would not be getting vaccinated because he believed he had, end quote, a very low risk of A, getting COVID, and B, dying of COVID if I do. Why would I risk getting a heart attack or paralysis by getting the vaccine, end quote. In a later interview, Mark Valentine said that his brother, quote, realizes now that him not getting the vaccination has probably caused a bunch of other people to not get vaccinated, end quote.
My goodness.
Well, and the thing is, like, Phil Valentine had a huge listening base. So him speaking out against vaccinations this whole time, his brother was right. It probably did mean that a whole lot of people didn't go out there and get vaccinated when they should have. And, you know, no one deserves to die, but sometimes a person is chosen to die for a lesson for other people. So,
We've had many examples of people who have gotten and who haven't gotten vaccinated, but I think at the end of the day, you need to do what's most safe for yourself.
Yeah, you know, the thing that confuses me is the science is overwhelming. This is not a 40% chance of rain forecast. The science is overwhelming on the strength and value of the vaccine, the percentages of people that are being hospitalized, the percentages of people that are going into ICU, the percentages of people that are dying. It is overwhelming. More than 95% are unvaccinated. So I don't understand why we're rejecting all of this science. And
Well,
what
hopefully
is
it'll
going
turn
on.
around. The rejection will turn around now that Pfizer has gotten full approval from the FDA. Hopefully that'll change the mind of some folks who are a little hesitant. And now with, you know, with the full approval of the FDA, it would be like just any other medicine that you take, right, to save your life.
I
So
suspect
hope.
that's not what's going to happen, unfortunately. We're going to do a special segment with Dr. Howard Grossman tonight on COVID-19, and we must explore that in terms of what he thinks is going to happen next.
Yeah, let's hope it turns
Hey,
around.
Patricia.
Now we cure up politics. Conservatives are turning school boards into a battleground for culture wars. When it comes to LGBTQ rights, opponents always make it about the children, or more accurately, keeping the children in the dark. No wonder school boards are now the main battleground for the culture wars. Across the nation, school boards have become the focal point to enrage conservatives to peddle information about COVID, attack critical race theory, and of course, rant about trans children. As Vice puts it, quote, "A good way to go viral right now is to act unhinged at a public school board hearing," end quote. The meetings have become so volatile that police officers are now a common sight. Another school board meeting in Ashburn, Virginia, degenerated into chaos during discussion about the rights of trans students, leading to cops arresting one audience member while others heckled them.
It's kind of funny. I actually had a dream about this last night. My good friend Lisa Ruiz, who actually knows Paul Thomas, who's here frequently from Miami Beach Pride, she lives in the Hudson Valley area of New York, and she's very much an activist who's always trying to get out there with information about LGBTQ issues. Not that anyone in her family is, but most of her friends are. And the Hudson Valley area of New York's not necessarily the most progressive. I had a dream last night that the crazy people from these meetings were sending me bombs and stuff. And I posted on her Facebook, and she's like, "Oh, you must have seen last night's board meeting." I'm like, "No, but it's been a nationwide thing."
Yeah.
I just feel like it leaves such a poor example of the children if the parents are acting unhinged. Right. Can you imagine the license that it gives the children to act out also and be disrespectful towards others?
Right. We're in a situation where this is the result. School boards being our current battleground in America. This is the result of Donald Trump losing the White House, of the 2 Georgia seats and the outcome in the Senate, not having control of the House. But most important of all, this is a result of the reaction of, like Obama becoming the first black president in 2008, having a gay man run for president of the United States, become the first Senate confirmed cabinet member, having a trans person as the Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services. Their response is, we can't stop any of this, so what are we going to go after? And unfortunately, they've chosen our schools.
The school boards.
It's quite incredible.
Next, let's queer up the world. 130 plus LGBTQ rights groups demand protection for vulnerable Afghans. More than 130 LGBTQ plus right groups have signed a letter to support the protection of vulnerable populations in Afghanistan, especially LGBTQ plus people, women, and children. Taliban fighters entered the Afghanistan capital of Kabul on August 15th, resulting in a mass exodus of foreign government officials. The Afghan president, Ashraf Ghani, also fled the country. Since the Taliban's quick takeover of the capital, rights groups have grown troubled due to the group's extremist views and histories. The organizations call for the Taliban to adhere to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and overall international human rights norms. The signed parties also call on the Taliban to work with vulnerable people through whatever negotiations may take place between them and the Afghan government.
Anyone scared?
Yeah. I pray for the people of that nation because I can only imagine what they're going through.
I mean, one of the things that I read in the story that one of the judges, a Taliban judge, said that any gay man would be stoned to death. So, I mean, I don't think there would be any trial, any due process. I mean, it was just, it'll be your sentence for being you will be death.
Yeah.
And this is a terrible thing, but it's also something that's very common in Saudi Arabia, which our former president considered one of our best allies. They hang gay people in public. They, treat women like property. It's a not a worldwide thing. It's not even all Islamic people, but it is the extremist groups that follow the Sharia law, and the Taliban is one of those groups.
I have to remind all of us, this is 2021, not 2001. The Taliban was a completely different organization 20 years ago prior to the World Trade Center attack. Sharia law is in place, but the Taliban leadership understands that the entire world is micro-analyzing them in terms of their response. Hopefully that pause will be enough to bring some ability that the Taliban wants to move into the broader world. We shall see. That is an optimistic point of view. But we reported on Queer News Tonight last week when Kabul fell, that there is an estimated 4.5 million LGBTQ people in Afghanistan.
Wow.
If you are caught, if anyone at this table would be caught, especially in engagement of homosexuality in any possible way, The judge and the legal system of the Taliban restated just yesterday, your two choices are being stoned to death or stand in front of a 9 to 10 foot wall and have the wall pushed over on you. Those are the two forms of execution for LGBTQ in Afghanistan. We potentially are watching the beginning of a dramatic humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan.
That is our queer headlines for today. So let's catch up on the news, on the LGBTQ plus news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6, 2020.
Tonight, we report that as of today, more than 2,717,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
Queer News Tonight remembers the more than 45,000 LGBTQ plus Americans that have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 363 million vaccination doses have been administered in the U.S.
That is our pandemic news for tonight. Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership.
Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
This is Orlando Gonzalez. I'm the Executive Director of Safeguarding American Values for Everyone, also known as SAVE, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Next up, welcome to Queer News Tonight's Q&A on LGBTQ plus health and pandemic. Since February 2020, this segment has been unique in answering America's LGBTQ plus community questions about our unique health needs. We are proud to have Queer News Tonight's health anchor, Dr. Howard Grossman.
He is an American pioneer in HIV/AIDS medical treatment and was the executive director of the American Academy of HIV Medicine. He is nationally recognized medical expert and proud member of our LGBTQ plus community.
Well, first off, good evening, Howard. I hope you can hear me all right.
You hear me?
We can. Well, before we move into questions that we have, I want to talk to you about any thoughts that you've had over this week's health news for our community and, of course, the pandemic.
You know, Al, I think it's the same news we've talked about for weeks now, or, you know, it's just a disaster that's happening. You know, the spread of COVID and the horror that healthcare professionals are experiencing all over the country. And, you know, it's still, you know, despite what you hear, it's still 95% or more unvaccinated people in the hospitals. You know, it's well over 90% of unvaccinated people who are intubated in ICUs. It's a mess.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, let's jump right into tonight's questions.
And speaking of the vaccines, the Pfizer vaccine got full FDA approval this week. Do you think any of the other ones will be soon?
I think the Moderna is probably going to be shortly behind that. You know, I'm not sure about J&J, given the fact that it seems to be less effective against Delta. You know, we're waiting to see if a second dose of J&J will be encouraged. You know, there's a number of those factors. But yeah, I think that between Pfizer and Moderna, you know, they'll both be approved.
And Howard, I want to follow up on the Pfizer FDA. Patricia made note earlier in our conversation when we were talking about the situation with COVID that there's hopes that with FDA approval, many more people will get vaccinated. Are you optimistic that that's what's going to happen?
I have to say I'm not. I think I've seen polls where 30% of the people who aren't getting vaccines have said that if the FDA approves it, that they'll think about it more clearly. But that's still, 70% who don't. It doesn't matter to me. That it was always an excuse that made no sense at all. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see if that. But at least it's one less issue to talk about.
Yeah. And I one other follow-up, Howard, Dr. Grossman. With all of the science and the information and the doctors walkout in Palm Beach County and all of the different related things, we're coming up on Labor Day, not Valentine's Day. It's Labor Day. What is going to convince people that something needs to be done in terms of vaccination rates? What more can we say? What more can you say? Get the shot. What more is there left to do?
Their children have to die. Their spouses have to die. It's one of those things where we've become this country that if it doesn't happen to you, it's not important. It's happening out there. It's happening to something else. We experienced that as a community around HIV. Clearly, as my friend Vito Russo used to say, it was like being in a war that other people have no idea is happening. And there are bombs dropping all around you, and your friends are disappearing, and this one's gone, and that one's gone, and nobody knows that it's happening.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, we're seeing much of the same thing. People just ignore what's not happening to them. Truthfully, the only thing
still having difficulty accepting that reality, but I hear clearly what you're saying. Natalie?
And the only thing that'll change things, Al, is if it's a law. If the law comes down and says you must get vaccinated, that's when things may change.
Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Grossman. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, fine, I'm fine. This is Natalie Russo. A woman just died on a Carnival cruise ship. If variants continue to appear, will cruises ever be safe?
Well, I think cruises have, the cruises that have gone on, we hear about every single thing that happens. But that particular case, first of all, they don't even know if that woman was vaccinated. Second of all, she was in her late 80s, which puts her in a much more vulnerable group. So if you look at the unvaccinated people who have died, or the vaccinated people who have died, actually, the median age is about 84. Okay, so older people where the vaccine may not have worked as well, where it may have worn off, but in this case of this particular woman, we don't even know if she was vaccinated or not. I think that's important. So yes, a cruise is a closed-in space with a lot of people. I think that the cruise ships are going to get more particular in the way that many, for example, European countries have, where you have to not only be vaccinated, but have a test right before you go. Truthfully, I think for me, I feel safer traveling somewhere and staying there, rather than being on a ship. But, that's a personal choice. There's certainly a lot of cruises out there these days.
Howard, I want to make sure that you're crystal clear there in terms of listening to you. Would you go on a cruise currently?
I don't go on cruises, so it's a hard thing.
If you did go on a cruise, would you go on a cruise?
If I did go on a cruise, I think if I was vaccinated and it was a cruise line that was demanding vaccines plus testing, I would feel safer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good.
And that means every single person on the ship, not 95%, not 90%, every single person.
And Dr. Grossman, 75 doctors staged a symbolic walkout in protest of unvaccinated patients in Palm Beach, just 15 miles from Mar-a-Lago. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, Palm Beach suffers that fate of being close to Mar-a-Lago, but You know, I can tell you that doctors around this country and healthcare workers are pissed off. I mean, they are angry. You read stuff on the medical boards that, I mean, people are really angry at this point. They are tired. They're worn out. They don't know how to deal with these people and who are unvaccinated. Patients who need beds for surgeries, for accidents, for cancer, can't find beds because they're filled with patients, unvaccinated patients with COVID. And a lot of healthcare workers are really angry. On the other hand, you know, it's pitiful that significant numbers of healthcare workers have not been vaccinated. I actually heard a story, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard a story that a nurse on a transplant unit here in South Florida was refusing to get vaccinated, got infected almost all the patients on the transplant ward, and many of them died. You know, that's a story that needs to be investigated. But that's the kind of stuff that's happening out there. And unfortunately, you know, even healthcare workers are not necessarily spared from being stupid.
You know, Dr. Grossman, I want to zero in on the anger that you've expressed from the healthcare community, that you're angry. And a big portion of that, which we've discussed tonight, is it's a rejection of science and fact. It's a whole core of people that are still saying the world is flat, and that's what they're doing. I know your crystal ball is, well, it's better than mine, but crystal balls are not that great. But look into your crystal ball. Where are we going? What do you project we're going to see? Next week is, the end of next week is going to be Memorial Day, and then we have the final quarter of the year. I'm sorry, Labor Day, thank you. I was thinking Valentine's Day. Where for the last quarter of the year are we going? What does your crystal ball say we can expect?
I can only think that this is going to get worse in the places that are bad. And I'm afraid we're going to see the collapse of the healthcare systems in places like Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, you know, Kentucky. They called in the National Guard today. You know, a few days after the Supreme Court of Kentucky upheld the legislature forbidding the governor from passing emergency things. You know, we have our, you know, governor death sentence here in Florida, who's, you know, taking money away from school boards as a punishment for protecting children. You know, it can only get worse, I think. And as we enter flu season, and by the way, for the audience, flu shots are now available, and people should avail themselves of them. But we're getting back into flu season again. And that's going to complicate things as well. If all the hospital beds are filled with COVID patients, and my boss in St. Lucie County has 300 COVID patients in the hospital right now. He hasn't had a day off in 2.5 months. If that's what keeps going on, the hospital system can't support that.
Yeah. Okay, well, we thank Dr.
Not a pretty picture, but
yeah,
for places where they're enforcing mask mandates, wear a mask indoors everywhere you go. That's probably not going to be as bad a situation.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been saying that for a year and a half.
Yeah, for quite a long time.
Exactly.
Howard and I have this regular Tuesday night date, and we sit around and wring our hands every Tuesday night.
You're my favorite regular.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, that is tonight's Queer News, tonight's Q&A on LGBTQ plus health and pandemic. I assure you, by the way, nothing would give me more joy to no longer do this on Tuesday nights, and we would just talk about other kinds of healthcare issues. Yeah. So please,
talk about STDs. Let's talk about sex.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about sex. There's lots of fun things to talk about. And yes, exactly right. But it looks like we're going to be doing this for a while longer. And we thank you, Howard, for doing that. We are here every Tuesday night with Dr. Howard Grossman to answer your questions. Do you need medical assistance? Well, of course you do, because we're LGBTQ and we have unique needs. We encourage you to contact Dr. Howard Grossman here in Wilton Manors and all across South Florida. Thank you again, Howard.
Finally, Queer News Tonight supports our South Florida nonprofit LGBTQ plus health providers. An outstanding example is Care Resource.
If you need care, Care Resource can help regardless of your health needs, immigration status, religious beliefs, gender, age, or if you are insured or uninsured.
Care Resources provide a wide variety of LGBTQ+ services, including medical care, behavioral health, dental care, testing, prevention, transgender care, PrEP, Food for Life Network, and more. At Care Resource, they care for all who need quality health care services.
Well, now we're going to finish tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus Flash News.
LGBTQ+ Flash News headline: The Peripheral Movement moves into the Cyberfuture with Alexandra Billings. Story: We are huge fans of trans actor Alexandra Billings. She's the reason we didn't bail on the Connors. Next, she'll step into a role into upcoming Amazon original series, The Peripheral, starring Chloe Grace Moretz and Jack Renner, based on the novel by legendary author William Gibson. The plot involves mysterious cyberspace-based employment, gaming, and possibly murder, none of which will really make sense until we watch it. Our favorite detail: Billings' character, a major role as a mysterious detective, is a transgender, and as one was the character in the original novel. Find out more about this and other entertainment news in the Hot Spots magazine on stands now.
Well, I am not familiar with the novel or the story, but it certainly sounds interesting to me, and I love the idea. We're really not going to understand it until we watch it.
I'll definitely have to check it out.
I welcome more trans individuals getting lead roles. This is great.
Yeah, she was amazing in The Connors, which, despite, Roseanne's involvement, was a really amazing, inclusive show. So I think she's going to be really good in this.
Yes, I agree. I believe we need more roles with transgenders, transsexual women, men, to give a more outlook on us because we're pretty much misunderstood.
LGBTQ plus Flash News. Farmers erect huge pride flag after school bans LGBTQ plus Black Lives Matter symbols. After the school board in Newburgh, Oregon banned the displays of pride flags, Black Lives Matter signage, and other supposedly political items, citizens have responded by erecting a large wooden pride flag on a hill. Aaron and J. Bill MacArthur, who have a farm near Newburgh High School, posted on social media about their plans to build a flag. Many people responded by donating funds for materials, and volunteers from all over the state joined the couple Sunday to put the flag up. Portland TV station KGW reports, on 17 by 30 feet of plywood, they painted a progress flag, which incorporates not only the traditional rainbow colors of the flag, but black and brown stripes for people of color and pale pink, light blue, and white for transgender people. It now sits on a hill within the view of the high school football field.
Wow. Bravo. Thank you so much, Aaron and J-Bill. This is awesome.
They had me at Erect huge, but then after that, there was a great humanitarian story.
Well, I'm encouraged that the parents' response was to do the progressive flag as opposed to the traditional rainbow flag, because that is an indication that even the general American public are beginning to broaden their views on black, brown, and trans.
I think it'll definitely give the football game a different view.
LGBTQ plus Flash News. Israel is ending their ban on blood donation from queer men. Why isn't America? Israel is ending all restrictions in place that limit men from donating blood in any way simply because they have sex with men. Gay and bisexual men will now be held to the same standard as all other people seeking to give blood. This policy puts Israel in the growing number of nations that are changing policies around blood or tissue donation regulations to take away past restrictions placed on gay and bisexual men. That has left people to wonder why America is behind on the issue.
It's funny, here in the gayest place on planet Earth, there is a plasma collection agency. And I went in there once to see if they could take me, and their response was, just lie on the application. We need the plasma more than we care about their policies.
Oh my.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. It's interesting to me that what we've learned in COVID, in the pandemic, and in vaccines is there's a significant number of science deniers. This policy should be reversed because it creates the impression that there is some issue with gay men, and that's why they can't accept blood. It's an old policy from 30 years ago, and it should be repealed.
Yeah, I actually have a friend of mine who is pretty heterosexual, but that's on the application that they do ask if he's had sex with other men or, and naturally he says no, but they won't accept.
Why are we always last?
Definitely. I think this is an example of need exposing bigotry, right? All of a sudden we need the blood, so all of a sudden these policies need to change. It's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, well, actually, the ones who are kind of last and bottom of the list are transsexual women. We are like, we're just at the bottom of the barrel, and I hope to be able to change that with my personality and my positiveness and information that I could give on myself and help others as well to understand us.
Next on LGBTQ plus Flash News, Bowen Yang creates the newest gay slang term in response to thirsty tweeters. Out anchor and comedian Bowen Yang has finally received the rite of passage all stars in the modern age need to have, a video where he reads tweets written about him. One previous moment in the BuzzFeed series that gained notability was when Taron Egerton, who starred as Elton John in the biopic Rocket Man, learned what a bussy is. Yang referenced that moment when he read one tweet where a user said they wanted Yang to spit in his mouth. He said, quote, "What's it called when you're like the receiving partner to spit? That's what I am. I guess I'm a spit bottom. I guess I'm here to coin mussy, a bussy with an M. Watch this."
Hi, I'm Bowen Yang, and I'm here with BuzzFeed today to read thirst tweets. Ooh, I hope I get a boyfriend out of this. Yeah. Bowen Yang can spit in my mouth, parted lips emoji. What's it called when you're like the receptive partner to spit? That's what I am. So I'm like a spit bottom. I guess I'm here to coin mussy, bussy with an M. I'm obsessed with Bowen Yang's mouth. You mean my mussy? Next tweet.
All I have to say is that's disgusting.
Well, you're not a gay man. And it's very, very funny to me. When I read this story, it brought me to a complete stop because I had never read spit bottom before. I've heard all kinds of references to bottom, but never a spit bottom. And then I thought about John. Oh, wait, that's another story.
You know what? No comment.
I mean, this story, I must admit, I had to look up the word. It's just not very funny to lesbian women.
If you had to look it up, you're definitely not a gay man either.
See, I live within the fetish community, so this didn't freak me at all, but all I can think now is like, oh yeah, give me my mussy. Like, that's, yeah, it's, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. There we go. Anything else?
No. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBT digital and digital television news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world, including, well, we know what word. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including John Buckley, Patricia Hernandez, David Hopkins,
Mussy.
and Natalie Russo. We will see you daily at 8 p.m.
Good night.
Night.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBT